Well, hello and welcome to episode 121 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, we had the Oscars last week, and just like last year, we are returning the week after to talk about this year's Best Picture, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Indeed, we are. I'm super excited to talk more about this film. We've talked a little bit about the story around us and this film. You saw this film right when it came out. You said to me immediately, like, you should go watch it. This is going to win a ton of awards. And you were so right. I did not listen to you, and I let it go out of the theater. Then it came back into the theater, and I still didn't go watch it. And it was the biggest regret, maybe, of 2022 is that I missed seeing it on the big screen. But I did finally catch up. I did see it. I understand why it was so great. And then we all got to see it win a ton of stuff last week. So
it was one of your regrets. This is a film that tackles regrets, Michaela, so that's perfect. That works out great for us. And I did tell you to see it when it first came out. So this technically it released on March the 25th in 10 movie theaters. And it did amazing. It made like $250,000 that first weekend on 10 theaters, which is just absurd. Then it spread out to 38 movie theaters the following week, and then got its official wide release April the 8th. And then it stayed in wide release for the next 10 weeks, which is pretty insane for like an independent picture to do. The momentum just kept rolling and rolling and rolling on this thing. Then it got another wide release over the summer. I told you to go see it. You spurned me again. And then a third wide release this last fall because A24 was really, really digging in. This thing got some momentum. They were not going to let up on it, and that momentum carried it all the way through to the Oscars. And this is a story that is great. I loved a lot, and yeah, told you to see it. But luckily, we were able to both see it. We have both watched it together, so we've seen it separately. We've seen it together now, and we shared a nice cocktail over it too. So let's do this, Michaela. This movie is going to take some talking about. So let's take a quick break, and we will be right back to whip up this week's cocktail from a familiar cocktail place if you listen to our Coda episode. So sit tight and we'll be right back.
So this week we're taking our second dose of Best Picture inspiration from Fanny's Oscar Party. Okay, if you don't know Fanny's, we talked about it in our Coda episode, which is episode 71. So you pause, go listen to it. It's amazing. The cocktail, they have a bar. Fanny's is a restaurant. It's next to, it's inside or next to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. It has the definitive food and wine cocktail imbibations of all things movies. And they were really, really sweet and helped us recreate our Coda cocktail last year. And so we thought, in tradition and to pay homage to that amazing place that we've never been to and hope to go to someday, we would
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. We would recreate at the Everything Everywhere All at Once cocktail that they currently have. So that's what we decided to do. And by we, I mean mostly Brian, because again, this is a lot of ingredients. It's a very fancy cocktail. This is not a Tuesday night kind of thing. So take it away, Brian, with how we recreated this amazing cocktail.
That's right. Yeah. So this cocktail actually it's not quite as involved as the Coda one was. So this one could be an everyday kind of cocktail if you felt so inclined, if you got these ingredients put together. But yeah, we definitely wanted to go back to the source there at Fanny's. They do their Oscar party. It looks amazing. I'm very jealous when they start posting the pictures of all the cocktails because they do one for every of the best pictures. They all look very nuanced and delicious and interesting. And this year we just had to wait and see what won. You know, we wanted Everything Everywhere All at Once to win. We both picked it and it did win. So we're covering that. So if you look at the cocktail menu, it doesn't have the amounts on there. So we had to kind of play with these a little bit. So here's what we put into our glass. So over a rocks glass with like a big ice cube is optimal here. You're going to do 1 ounce of gin, 3/4 of an ounce of Campari, 3/4 of an ounce of Grand Marnier, and then a 1/2 ounce of Fanny's used Aqua de Cedro lemon liqueur. Now, we couldn't find that. We checked kind of in both of our local liquor stores. Michaela, yours is really well stocked, but they didn't have this particular one. But luckily, we had one here that was local to us. It's called Citrus Slammin lemon liqueur, which is not my favorite name, but that's okay. It comes from Carolina Craft. It's very delicious. The ABV, the description of it seemed right in line with that Aqua de Cedro. So we picked that up a bottle of that. So you're going to use a half an ounce of that, and then just a couple of drops of lemon oil. Lemon oil, lemon extract. Lemon extract is an alcohol base. Lemon oil is um, pretty much the high quality ones are going to be pressed just from the lemon rinds themselves to kind of express that oil out of there, akin to like an olive oil kind of thing almost. So get that if you can. If not, you can use the lemon extract. It's just going to be a little bit different and a little bit different in the mouthfeel. So yeah, put that all into your glass, give it a stir, and then the best part, Michaela, is that you're going to garnish that. We used an everything bagel pretzel crisp, or if you got some everything bagel crackers or chips, or it looks like on the picture they might have made like a little Parmesan crisp with some of that Trader Joe's everything bagel seasoning on top of it. Look, it looks delicious. We went with the bagel root for ourselves, and then you sip it akin to a Negroni. But what did you think, Michaela? I mixed these up and took some to drop off to you. What were your thoughts about this one?
I really loved it. So we have talked a little bit about my Campari journey. I always thought Campari was really fancy, and then I had it and was like, ooh, it's real bitter. So I've developed a taste for it over time. I thought that this was a really beautifully done cocktail. The layers are definitely there. You've got the bitterness of the lemon. You've got this kind of course, it's made with gin. So you've got a little bit of juniper flowery. It's really, and it's going to depend on the kind of gin you use, but that was really nice. The lemon oil creates this lovely like coating mouthfeel.
Mhm.
It's not overly creamy or anything like that. It's because it's just a few drops, but I definitely felt it, especially on the back end. And then I was not concerned. I was a little hesitant about this everything bagel cracker, because while we had to have something that was a bagel, and if you know, you know, I was a little worried about how that would taste, but oh my gosh, it actually like paired really beautifully. And I mean, like,
Yeah.
really beautifully with this thing. I mean, again, Fanny's, you guys are amazing.
Yeah, it's so strange. You make this, and yeah, it's bitter, but it has the way that Fanny's mix this up with the Grand Marnier and that lemon. It has like the citriness, this kind of the sumptuousness that you get from that Grand Marnier and that lemon oil in there. So it's really bitter and citrusy and bright from the lemon, and then you take a bite of this bagel crisp, which is salty and doughy, and I don't know. It pairs up. It's so strange, but so delicious. No, I was blown away by the way that it tasted. As someone who really likes Negronis just as a regular cocktail, this had so much more kind of layers and complexity to it that I found really interesting. And then, yeah, you take a bite of that everything bagel cracker or chip, and whew, good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a really interesting way to get garlic into a drink, right?
Right.
To put it on the, because garlic is like one of the pieces of the everything bagel seasoning. It's like poppy seed, sesame seed, garlic, and some salt. I'm sure I'm missing something, but that garlicky hit with the oil, with the lemon citrus, and just like evened it out. And then even though it was a bagel chip, like it's a crisp, it's really thin, you get this really almost a comforting feeling of dough. It's so strange. But the good thing is we didn't make the bagel crackers. We were able to get them. So you can get them at any store. So if you are in the mood to make this drink and experience what we're talking about, this giant party of everything everywhere all at once in your mouth, you can do that, and you don't have to create a Parmesan crisp. I was ready. We were going to try it, and then we decided to do this, and I think that worked out really well. And saved us probably 18 steps, which is good, because I don't know, this seems like I guess you're right. I mean, it was just a lot of ingredients. So you could easily make this on a Tuesday night if you had all the stuff. It's just, it feels like very fancy. It kind of reminds me of when we did Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Like this is not, I mean, it's just very, very grown up to me. I mean, I definitely felt really, really fancy and lovely. And like I should be wearing a ball gown watching the Oscars, you know?
Yeah, for
I think
sure,
it's
for sure.
very fun.
Yeah, we'll have to step up our dressing game next year for sure when we do the Oscars. But yeah, these cocktails are amazing. This one was amazing, so definitely give it a try. Let us know if you mix one of these up. Let us know if you've been to Fanny's, if you tried any of their other cocktails, or what your favorite cocktail was from there, or what you drank your Oscar night. Let us know all that stuff on all the social medias. But now, Michaela, we talked about this cocktail. It's complex. It's interesting. It doesn't make a lot of sense from the outset, but it comes together beautifully, just like the movie we're talking about this week, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So why don't we take a quick break and we'll be right back to chat about this year's Best Picture winner.
And the Oscar goes to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Spoiler warning for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. If you've not yet seen this film, you've had plenty of time. And by plenty of time, I mean less than a year. But it's been everything and it's been everywhere. And you can see it all at once. And you should see it because we're going to talk about all the things. And it might be a little complicated. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea how we're going to be able to do this. But we're going to give it a shot. And we're going to talk about the ending. There's going to be a lot of spoilers. So if you've not seen it and you don't want to know all these things, you should press pause. Go make yourself up an Everything Everywhere All at Once Negroni concoction. And then you should come back and we can chat about it. And then you will not be angry that we've told you all the things inside Everything Everywhere All at Once. How was that? I feel pretty good about that.
There you go. That's pretty good. There is a ton of stuff that happens in this movie, and we're definitely not going to be able to hit on all of it, but we are going to get into the way that the story plays out and all that stuff. So as I mentioned at the top, the official wide release for this was April the 8th, 2022, written and directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, aka the Daniels, and it stars Michelle Yeoh, Kei Kwan, Stephanie Hsu, Jamie Lee Curtis, James Hong, and Tally Medel. I think we're saying that right. And all these characters we get introduced to in like the first 10 minutes of the movie. So no waiting around to find out who all of these characters are, because this is a story about them and kind of their family and relationship dynamics and how that plays as we get into the story. So Michaela, April the 8th, 2022, this thing comes out wide release to theaters. I see it, you don't. A24 keeps it in theaters for a long time. For the next 10 weeks, they do another wide release over the summer. They do another wide release in the fall. And then finally, it comes to be able to stream. I've wanted to watch this so many times after I saw it way back in April or whenever I saw it. But finally, A24 knew what they were doing. They're like, we're going to keep this in theaters as long as we can, make this our highest grossing film ever, which it was. And then finally hits Showtime. So you were able to see it just recently, Michaela, just in time for the Oscars.
Just in time for the Oscars. And thank the universe. Thank the multiverse that they did that, because I would have missed out on what was an amazing film. And
you're supposed to thank the bagel. Thank the everything bagel.
Thank the everything bagel. If you know, you know. But I feel like, in a sense, you did win all the You Pick'ems this year because you picked this out. You forewarned me way ahead of time that this was going to win everything, and we were right. It did, and I'm so glad it did, and it's so deserving. We talked all about all of the acceptance speeches and how amazing they were and stuff in our last big episode drop. So we're not going to talk about that here. If you want that, go listen to the last one. But yeah, it was a great film, and I think it's going to be one of those things that it's going to develop an even bigger following as people watch it and stream it. Because we had a ton of listeners write in the week before the Oscars and say, look, we don't have a lot of time to watch 54 movies. We can't even watch all 10 of the Best Picture nominations. If we could pick one film to watch for the year, what would it be? And both of us resoundingly said Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I think that it's going to make an even bigger splash now that it's streamable and more people can get their hands on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a good one to watch if you were heading into the Oscars, because it was nominated for 11 and it won 7. So that covers a lot of those 23 categories right there. Let's run through here quickly the ones that it lost first, Michaela. So it lost Best Original Score and Best Original Song for This Is Life. It lost Best Supporting Actress for Stephanie Hsu, won that for Jamie Lee Curtis, and then Best Achievement in Costume Design by Shirley Kurata. Now, Black Panther Wakanda Forever won that award. Rightfully so. Those costumes were great, but rewatching this, kind of with the sense in my brain that it lost costume design, that's kind of bananas to me because you have the character of Joy of Jobu Tupaki wearing these just absolutely insane like crazy bananas costumes, which are amazing. But then there's so many of these other multiverses, so it was almost like they had to do costume design for like 8 films for this one film.
For sure. And they had to the detailing behind it. So there's a couple of things when people are fighting and the things that they're wearing and the way in which they had to angle the camera to show off certain aspects of what they're wearing. That really was helpful to watch, to understand which universe we were in, because sometimes the scenery was quite similar, but you wouldn't know that. And just the fact that it was so original, some of these costumes looked like they were bug organisms. Some of them looked like they were fashion designers. Some of them looked like they were tennis court. They were tennis players. I mean, some of them were very like normal, but they were all like so crazy and bananas. And then it's hard because I think Wakanda Forever did a really great job, but these are just so out there, and having to this wasn't recreating a costume like in Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. This was something that had to be completely rethought of or thought of in a completely different way, and then parsed out and into these universes, and then trying to and that many times was a marker to help us know what universe we were in so that we could keep track. It was kind of like another character almost, or another editing factor, right? That played a really crucial part in understanding what was going on in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely keeps you grounded, as you mentioned, Michaela, because this thing spins around, and you could very quickly lose track of what's going on if you're not paying attention. So let's talk about the ones that it did win. Best achievement in film editing, Paul Rogers, excellent job. We just briefly touched on that. It won the acting awards. Michelle Yeoh, best actress. Of course, kudos to her. Jamie Lee Curtis, I mentioned, and supporting actress, and Ke Kwan wins for best supporting actor. And he's the best. He is the glue that holds this whole thing together. He's amazing. So happy for him. And then the Daniels were the biggest winners on the night. They won 3, along with Jonathan Wang, the producer, for Best Picture of the Year. But they won Original Screenplay, Best Achievement in Directing, and Best Picture of the Year, Michaela.
They sure did. And it's interesting. I loved hearing them go up and talk every time, because they always had something really beautiful and uplifting to say, which was cool. But I think for Best Director, I know we both got that wrong, but now seeing it again with that in mind, I really get it because the decisions that they had to make were so varied and broad, and creating this story, and some of the work that had to be done in order to get those shots had to be just incredible. And so and all the decisions around the screenplay, I mean, it's just an amazing screenplay. I don't know, as an actor reading this, if I would have understood it. I mean, I remember I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about when he read Total Recall, and he was like, I had to read the script 3 times to understand what the heck was going on. I feel like Michelle Yeoh might have, I don't know. I feel like somebody had to be like, hey, okay, so here's what's happening. And then here's the script, because if it's anything like what we saw on screen, it's very crazy and wild. And you've said it before, it takes you right on the brink of like where you're like, I don't know if I know what's going on. This could completely fall apart. We're very, very close to this whole thing turning into just a bunch of garbage that I don't understand how to process. And yet it takes you right there, but it doesn't take you over that line. It brings you right back. And then everything starts to make sense. And in this beautiful, like, dynamic puzzle that somehow makes sense, even though it's all over the place. So
it does get right up onto that line. And let's get into the story a little bit here. We are definitely not going to be covering this kind of in any sort of order or anything. We're going to kind of break it down into three parts, but we don't have Oscars for editing, Michaela, so we're not even going to try to do that. So let's start off everything, everywhere, all at once with everything. Michaela, we talked about our actors here. Who are they playing? So kind of to get this thing started off, we're at a laundromat with Evelyn Wang and Wayman Wang, played by Michelle Yao and Kei Kwan. They are married. They live in this little tiny apartment above their laundromat. You see piles and piles of receipts and tax documents on this table. Looks a little bit overwhelming for Evelyn. They are going back and forth. Wayman is trying to get her attention. She has no attention to give for him. All of this stress, all of this workplace stress, family stress, all these things are going on because her father is there, Gong Gong, played by James Hong. She has a daughter named Joy, played by Stephanie Hsu, and Joy has her girlfriend, Becky, also coming over. So everything is literally coming together in this perfect storm of craziness, of insanity. It's bananas, and you're like, what is happening? It's like a tornado is running through this thing. What am I seeing right now, Michaela?
Right. I mean, it is it's like a typical, well, I don't know if it's typical because it's not every day that you get audited by the IRS, but you're being audited. You see Evelyn's kind of struggle. She's trying to keep it all together. Her husband's trying to talk to her about his feelings, and it turns out that he's got these divorce papers he's trying to talk to her about. He seems really conflicted. He doesn't seem to want to get divorced. I mean, you can Kei Kwan is just so brilliant in this because he is varied interfaces the way he is trying to interact with her as she's running around trying to deal with customers, make some noodles, talk to her daughter. She wants to support her daughter being gay, but she's also kind of ashamed that she has to explain it to other people. I mean, one of the things that she says is, you could have picked a Chinese lady to fall in love with, and she's not even Chinese. What is wrong? Like, I'm accepting, but I'm only accepting to a point. And of course, Stephanie Hsu is like, look, I want my girlfriend. She means the world to me. I want her to come to this party. They're having this big Chinese New Year party that's at the laundromat, and they're inviting all these people. We get Marcel, the Shell with shoes on, comes in as one of the customers with her little dog, and she's like trying to get receipts and all of this leading up to the fact that Evelyn's father's there. He's this older man who's disapproving and just nothing ever made him happy. And, he apparently didn't think much of Wayman. She didn't want his daughter to marry him, but she did anyway. And they came to America and they bought a laundromat and they live on top of it. And they, it's a struggle they've got all these old machines. This opening scene is just amazing. This is why they won for best achievement in directing, because they have these really long shots of them going up and down the stairs and all of the things with the set direction and being in a really cramped space, but having all these useful like nooks and crannies. And it really, these first 20 minutes lets you know why it won all these awards, because the writing is amazing. The acting is brilliant, and it very quickly gets you knee deep into the lives of these people as they try to just make ends meet and figure out what's going on in their day. And as a mom, I have to tell you, it totally resonated with me because there's about 85 things that Evelyn feels like she has to do and has to handle. And managing all these people and their emotions and trying to make her dad okay and make her daughter happy and, be welcoming to her daughter's girlfriend, but not too welcoming because she doesn't really know how she feels about that. And at the expense of her partner who's completely sad and trying to just talk to her about their relationship. I mean, all of those things happening, it was like, oh my God, this is my life. And it's only the first 20 minutes of this film.
Yeah, it does an amazing job of kind of laying out this picture that Evelyn is very kind of disenchanted with her life. There you have Wayman, like you said, is bringing in these divorce papers, and you never even for 1 second get the feeling that Wayman is doing that for any reason other than he wants Evelyn to be happy, and he thinks she might be happier if he wasn't in her life, which is sad and heartbreaking. And we kind of explore that as we get into the multiverse section. But yeah, this first section, it does a beautiful job of laying out all of those stresses, all of those pressures, all of those feelings of inadequacy and stress and all those things, and it's incredible. But ultimately, what's more important than your dad being there? What's more important than your husband potentially filing for divorce? What's more important than talking to your daughter and how you feel about their relationship? It's being audited by the IRS. IRS takes top priority all the time, so you are going in to the office there to meet with the auditor of the year, Deidre Bubirja, I think. I don't know if that's how you say that last name, but it played by Jamie Lee Curtis. She has a couple of Auditor of the Year awards there, which might be representative of the way you feel about IRS auditors. I'm not 100% sure, but Jamie Lee Curtis is excellent. She's there. She is laying out all thes things. She says, Evelyn, why are you trying to write off a karaoke machine? You're a laundromat. Wayman very supportive through this whole thing, but Evelyn is starting to feel some cracks, because now we're at the part, Michaela, everywhere. Coming up that elevator, you see just Evelyn. She's starting to splinter. Her mind is starting to fracture. All of this stuff, it's just become too overwhelming for poor Evelyn. But luckily, we've got Waymond, Alpha Waymond from the Alphaverse.
That's right. And this speaks to Ke Huy Quan's acting, because they're in this elevator. The elevator door shuts, and he is immediately like a completely different person. And he's like, hey, look, I need you to follow these instructions. I need you to not go to this audit, because this is not important at all, which is really confusing to Evelyn, because it looks like Waymond, but it's not acting like Waymond. And says, I need you to go into this broom closet. We got to talk about this stuff. The entirety of the universe is resting on your shoulders. And she's like, can you come back tomorrow? Like, I'm not saying I can't help you. It's the typical like mom thing, right? Where it's like, I'm not saying I can't help you. I'm just saying I can't help you right now, because I'm kind of in the middle of my own crisis. And so I can only handle so much. And he's of course like, no, like literally this is the most important conversation, which is ironically the exact same thing that Deirdre Bobeirdre is saying to her now at the auditing table. She's like, are you with us? What's going on? You're staring off into space. It looks like you're not paying any attention. You have to answer for these receipts. She keeps doing this giant circle on these receipts, saying, this doesn't make sense. And then of course, they were like, hey, you were supposed to bring somebody that could translate. Is this an issue with you not speaking English? And it was like, oh my gosh. And so all of this starts to come to a head, and luckily Alpha Waymond turns back into regular Waymond, and he, Waymond from this universe doesn't have any recollection of what has been said, but he left some great instructions on the back of the divorce papers.
That's right. Yeah, he leaves some great instructions on the back of the divorce papers to get Evelyn, I guess, where she needs to be mentally to start processing everything that's going on in her life. So they have this meeting with Deirdre. She's amazing. Jamie Lee Curtis there as Deirdre, as this IRS agent, and then they finish. Thankfully, Waymond is there. Waymond is a sweet talker. He's such a sweet guy. Of course, if he asks for an extension, you're going to give it to him. So that's what Deirdre says. She says, go home, get your stuff in order, get your daughter, bring her back here. We'll go over this stuff. I leave at 6:00, so be back by then. So they're on their way out of the elevator. And it is at this point, Michaela, that our story takes two branching paths, because this is a story about branching paths, because every decision you make in your whole life has consequences, and they, splinter off into different realities. So what you ate for breakfast today, if you had an everything bagel, maybe that is going to play some important role and splinter off your own life trajectory. Who knows? Because that's what this story is about. It's about looking back at your own life and thinking about all the decisions you made. Should I go to school here or here? Should I be with this person or this person? Should I do this or that? And all of those things have ramifications in this world. So on one hand, you have the Wangs just going home back to the laundromat to get ready for this party, to get their tax documents together. But on the other hand, maybe they stay and fight with the Alpha universe, Alpha Waymond, and try to get one up on kind of the center of all of this. shenanigans, which is portrayed by Evelyn's daughter, Joy, is the kind of ringleader of this. And she is kind of the physical embodiment of Evelyn's kind of emotions, I think. Her the way that she's dealt with her generational kind of guilt, that she's gotten passed down from her parents, and the way that they treated her and treated Waymond, and now she's kind of passed that on to her own daughter, and I think that she's feeling some sort of internal guilt. So kind of the demon of this story is portrayed by Evelyn's daughter, Joy, in Jobu Tupaki. And we're starting to learn a little bit more about kind of these alternate universes as we kind of process the decisions that Evelyn has made throughout her life and the regrets that she has.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because Alpha Waymond tries to explain this, that, his wife, Alpha Evelyn, she developed this verse jumping technology that enables people to access skills, memories, bodies from this parallel universe, all these people that they were or are in these different universes. In order to do that, you need to do something totally unthought of, like put your shoes on incorrectly, or eat a chapstick, or sit on something. I don't know. You have to do something strange and wild, and that gives you the best chance of going to these other places in the multiverse and grabbing these skills. So Alpha Evelyn ended up dying, and so Alpha Waymond is trying to explain that they are fighting against this being called Jobu Tupaki. And it's not until maybe about a third of the way through the film that you realize that Jobu Tupaki is actually Joy, played by the amazing Stephanie Hsu. And this is where the costumes are just insane, because she's in all these universes and she's destroying the universes one by one, and she can't be killed because anything that you try to fight her with, she will turn into, bubbles or glitter or anything else. Yep. We should preface this by saying this is not for kids. It's rated R for a reason. I'm just going to say that. Because anything's game here. She will kill you with the most interesting things. Anyway, the reason why Jobu Tupaki is doing this is because she basically broke. She was Evelyn's daughter in this Alphaverse, and Evelyn pushed her too hard in trying to create this verse jumping technology. And because her mind broke like a quote unquote clay pot, it couldn't handle going to all these places and being all these things at once. And so because she fed off of that guilt and disappointment and generational family stuff that happens, she decided to create this everything bagel. And it sounds so funny to say it out loud, but just go with us here. She created this everything bagel that basically can manipulate and suck in all the multiverses, kind of like a black hole, but it's not a black hole. It looks like a bagel, and you're just going to have to, if you've not seen it, shame on you, because we're spoiling it.
Yeah, she builds it as this place, and it's very metaphorical, right? Because she says that she made an everything bagel because you can put everything on it. So all of your guilt and all of your disappointments and all of your failures, she could put on to this bagel, kind of the center of this universe. And really the big kind of point of the story she's trying to drive home to Evelyn is that nothing matters. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you did or what you should have done. Nothing matters. Nothing is important. And that's, kind of what she's trying to drive home here at the IRS office. And one of the things that I really kind of like and can kind of identify with this is they keep coming, from this Alphaverse and talking to Evelyn. And one of the points about this Evelyn in our universe is that Evelyn is really good and really great in all of these other universes where she made different decisions, because she basically made every wrong decision to get to where she is right now. You're really good at everything because you're really bad at everything. And I think that that kind of resonates true for most people, right? You have your kind of regrets, and most people aren't we're not superstars. We're not rich and famous. We're not, doing all this crazy great stuff. So you kind of look at yourself and maybe you kind of feel that way about yourself, right? Am I really special? Were these decisions that I made right? Could I have gone down a different path and done something different and, made a whole completely different life of myself, been rich and famous, won my own Oscars? I don't know, but so there's a lot of catharsis kind of then within the story about dealing with that and realizing that, being rich and famous is great and all, but so is doing taxes and running a laundromat with the person that you love.
That's right. And all of these vignettes of these kind of captions of these different universes where Evelyn is, she's a blind singer. She's a famous actress who does karate. She is just a famous karate champion with her pinkies. She lives in a world with hot dog hands or hot dog fingers. All of those choices that were made that brought her to those decisions also would make this Evelyn kind of unhappy because she's not with Wayman or she doesn't have a daughter. And this kind of culminates in her having these fights with Jobu Tupaki and she has this moment where she almost gives in and she's like, none of this does matter. None of it matters. And she starts to kind of self-sabotage all of these universes because she now has broken her clay pot, as it were, and she can jump into these places. And so she hurts Waymond and she decides she doesn't want to sing anymore. And she is the famous blind singer or she does a bunch of other things that kind of sabotage these lives because she's like, you're right. None of it matters. And then she comes to realize that even if none of it does matter, she still loves the people that she loves, and she can still be deeply connected to the people in the life that she has lived in, where she is a quote unquote failure, because the things that she thought she failed at were not the things that really made her special. And that was one of the things I really love, the scene where Alpha Waymond tries to explain this to her, that you were amazing in this universe where you created, you discovered the multiverse and you were amazing as this singer. But in this universe that you live in right now, you made all the wrong decisions, but that I didn't need all of those other people. I needed you to save the world. I needed you to help, fight Jobu Tupaki and stop the everything bagel from, sucking in and putting everything, including the entire universe on in this black hole kind of thing. And it's really neat because we get this a lot with different like kid shows where it's like, you're good just the way you are and don't be anybody else and don't worry about anybody else. And it's not a race. It's, you're against yourself. And I think as kids, you think you get it, and then you get older, and everybody has an Evelyn inside of them. Some days, maybe not all the time, but everybody has these moments where they look around and they're like, "This is not how I'm supposed to be living my life." And it's a really beautiful way of reminding people that maybe everything did happen this way specifically for these reasons. And if you just look around you and are kind, because everyone else is having this moment or has these moments, then that's going to see you through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And we're kind of examining that as you go through these different universes, as you mentioned, Michaela. So there's the kind of infamous one with the hot dog fingers where Evelyn and Deirdre are together. That one's kind of disturbing. I don't love the hot dog fingers there for sure. You get the one where she is a chef at like a hibachi restaurant, and who is there? It's Raccacoonie, of course, because that's a different timeline, because she thought that the title of Ratatouille was Raccacoonie. So of course, like I said, every decision, every thing that you do in your life branches off and could potentially have gone a different way. So we get Raccacoonie. That stuff is really great. We get her as the blind singer is nice. You get like a very like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sort of thing where they're fighting in the woods. You get a different universe where Evelyn and Joy are rocks, which is weird, and it comes out of nowhere, but it's so beautiful. Kind of this conversation that these two little rocks have on the edge of this cliff, talking about how important things are, and how every time humanity makes another discovery, it's just like another burdenous weight on you. And I really like that. That's beautiful. But of course, my favorite, everyone's favorite, is where Evelyn is the world famous actress, martial arts superstar. She looks beautiful in this gown. She's at this movie premiere, and they're kind of watching the movie of the story of Everything Everywhere All at Once on there, which just kind of ends, which throws you for a loop because you're like, wait, the movie's over, the movie's done. But that one's the best because she reunites with Waymond, and they have this nice conversation and kind of this dark, gritty looking alley, which is really cool. And Waymond is so amazing in this, and he, really kind of pulls at your heartstrings because, Evelyn didn't choose to go with Waymond in this one. So they're reuniting here, and Evelyn's, starting to, kind of lead him on a little bit, right? And say that, maybe we could be together. Maybe we should rekindle this. And Waymond, is very cool. Kei Kwan just sitting there, smoking a cigarette. And he's like, Evelyn, you broke my heart in every universe, right? So it's always the same for Waymond too. Just because Waymond is a happy-go-lucky guy in the real world doesn't mean that he doesn't have some of these same kind of insecurities and feelings and stresses that Evelyn does. Everyone is dealing with all of this stuff, which really comes together here as we get to the fight scene. But yeah, Waymond is brilliant because he says then that was his superpower, right? Being nice and helping people was his superpower. That was how he decided to live in this multiverse of his own mind. And that's beautiful. Good job, Kei Kwan.
Be kind, but just be kind, because no one knows what's going on. And it's amazing because of his kindness in pretty much every universe, something good comes out of it, right? And in the universe where they just kind of go home, he is able to help create that space and time for the taxes to get done. Evelyn, in her kind of weird, like self-sabotaging way, decides not to go back to the IRS office at 6:00 with all of the documentation. Bobidra calls her and says, "Hey, you're not here. What is going on?" She's really mad. She's like, I've already said that there's a lien on your laundromat. I can come and shut it down. And she's like, whatever, because she's in this middle of like, I don't care moment. Right. And then, Of course, Deirdre shows up. And of course, Waymond talks to Deirdre and is like, look, I served her with divorce papers today. She's not acting right. We're not, can we please have another chance? And of course, Deirdre, played by the amazing Jamie Lee Curtis, was like, yeah, fine. And so there's this moment where I love where they're talking, and she's like, oh, my husband served me with divorce papers and I lost my mind. Like, she's like, I've been there, girlfriend. I get it. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out. Like, and she's got this really strange, like orange bodysuit and this long kind of hair that's been the costuming is amazing. It's so great.
Yeah, it's really great, and this is kind of playing parallel to like I said, those multiverses, and she's just learned from Waymond to be kind, and that's kind of how she ultimately comes out on top here of Jobu Tupaki and all these other people and dealing with all of these universes as she realizes just be nice to people because you don't know what's going on. So that she kind of goes through and helps everyone be happy, which ultimately leads her back to her daughter, to Joy. And is Joy able to be happy? I don't know, because then we get back to the laundromat, right, to the party, where Deidre's come back to give her another chance. Waymond talks her down, and Evelyn kind of has this epiphany, right? She wants to be nice. She wants to be stand up. She's kind of dealt with her own stuff, as it were. Tells her father that Joy is gay, has this girlfriend, they're in love, and that stuff is all great. But what does that mean to Joy, right? I mean, she's as pivotal a character in the story as Evelyn is, because she says it the best, right? Like, I'm happy that you figured out your stuff, Mom, but where does that leave me? That doesn't take away all of the things, all of the mean things that you say to me, how I feel when I'm around you. So maybe none of this does matter. Maybe I should just leave.
Yeah. And it's really hard because Evelyn struggles with that, right? And so we've got this really beautiful kind of dichromic look at it, because we have Joy and Evelyn in the universe that where they're in this parking lot, and Joy wants to get in the car, and she's like, will you please just let me go, because I hurt every time I see you, even though I love you very much. And I don't know if that's like everybody's experience with their parents or just mine, but I definitely resonated with me, where she's like, I love you, but you hurt me all the time. And so you don't know at this point if Joy is going to let her go. And then in the universe where they've been fighting with the alphas and all of these people in this IRS building, and the bagel is there, you can see that Evelyn states that even when nothing makes sense and she has the ability to be anywhere else in the universe, she would always want to be with Joy. And even when they're rocks, Joy tries to like move, the Joy rock moves over closer to the cliff, and Evelyn's rock kind of follows her and is like, nope, I'm going to be with you. And, it culminates into this like grabbing of Jobu Tupaki in the bagel, like she's about to enter the bagel, and Evelyn stops her. And then, of course, she can't hold on to her, but she has some help because everybody else starts to pile on and hold her. So Waymond, Alpha Gong Gong, and a bunch of the other alphas kind of hold on to her on this giant staircase and try and keep her. And it ends up with Evelyn and Joy embracing. And you don't know if it's going to be ultimately like sunshine and rainbows forever, but you know that they've kind of made peace with the fact that Evelyn loves her daughter, and she's willing to I make some sort of amends, and accept her daughter's relationship, and just be more accepting, and break that familial cycle of regret and guilt and shame and all of the things.
Yeah, you definitely get the feeling that she's breaking the cycle, right? Because she says to the I think the alpha version of her father, just I don't remember which version it was, because there's a lot of versions going on, but she says to her father, like, how was it so easy for you to just let me go like that? So she kind of breaks the cycle, and it's beautiful. So the story up to this point, if you couldn't tell from our last 30 minutes or so, the story is very bananas. There's a lot going on. It is jumping around all over the place. But kind of this last little bit here where she's, sitting there and having a vape with Deidre, and then embracing her daughter, and Waymond is looking on and has that big beaming smile. Everything just comes back together in this culmination where everything is just perfect and makes sense. And even though that it's crazy, just like within our own lives, right? You think about all the things you have to do on a day-to-day basis, and it's just insanity if you step back and look at it. But in these moments of your life where you're able to be happy and satisfied and with the ones that you love. And that's, what culminates here at the end of the story, which is partly why it was so beautiful and well received. You mentioned it, Michaela, at the top, that this had the potential to go very, very wrong. And you get right up on that edge a couple of times in this movie where you're not sure that this is going to go anywhere. But then it does. It goes somewhere, and it's very beautiful.
It is very beautiful. And I love how the story kind of comes to a close. It's either the next day or maybe a couple days later. The family's relationship looks like it's really improved. They have to go back to the IRS building, and Deirdre Bobildra is finally like satisfied. She's like, yes, you finally have, she's got a bunch of circles still, but she's like, here, this circle right here is where it needs to be. I'm satisfied. I'm going to remove the lien on your laundromat.
The best part, Evelyn holds Waymond's fanny pack and gives him a kiss. That's the best. That is the
best part. Because she's wanted that with her husband. And this is the beautiful thing about it, is he is not Alpha Waymond. He's always been the same Waymond. And she just had to see it differently. And in relationships that have lasted a long period of time, I mean, you and your wife have been together forever. There's a lot of people who are listening that have been in their relationships for a really long time. You're that you've got to change. You're going to change. They're going to change. The way you look at them has to change as well. And in order for that to still be something that is real, I think that's a huge takeaway. Because if you don't, you're going to look at your partner the way Evelyn looked at Wayman at the beginning, which was not fair to him and not fair to her.
Me. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And not fair to her because she was in the way of her own happiness then. Because he didn't change. It's not like he became, somebody from one of these other universes, right? They still own a laundromat. The laundromat still needs to be painted. They still have taxes that are done. She still has an overbearing father. Like none of that stuff changed. She just saw it differently. And she ended up being the catalyst for the change that needed to happen in the first place. And then her relationship with her daughter is really nice. And it looks like it's on the road. They've definitely embraced Becky in a different way, which is Joy's partner. She's starting to say these things like, you need to do something different with your hair, which is her way of saying she loves you, I guess. But Becky sees it that way. It doesn't bother her the same way it bothers Joy. And so it looks like this family is really on the mend. But the question is at the very end was that all in Evelyn's head? Because I swear I saw this the first time and I was like, wait a minute, was all of that inside her head? Was that just her manifesting all of this guilt and fear and none of that actually happened?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And to end the film, you get Deidre there is asking as Evelyn kind of drifts off into daydream land. Deidre says something and then says, "Are you with us, Evelyn?" And Evelyn kind of comes back and says, "I'm sorry. What did you say?" Kind of grounding her back in the reality because that the first time Deidre asks, you see Evelyn's mind like fracturing in this glass and things, but this time she is back. She is in the real world. So yeah, that begs the question, Michaela, was all of this a manifestation of the stress inside of Evelyn Wang? I think that, well, I mean, as fun as it is to think about tapping into other multiverses, I think that they are highly just kind of metaphorical for kind of these internal struggles that she's going with. So I think that you could probably take out the whole middle section and just say that they left the IRS office and then came back later, after she kind of had this epiphany. But it was important to explore the epiphany that she was having. So I don't know. Is it real? Was it just in her head? I think that just being in her head was real. Those were things that she had to go through and process mentally for herself, which is why mental health is very important. And talking to people if you need to talk to someone, why that's very important, because you can't let this stuff manifest within you. And like you said, Michaela, get in the way of your own happiness, right? That's what's so important. And we talked about that kind of in the Oscar preview, that our 2021 films were kind of about dealing with the anxiety and depression that the pandemic caused, and coming out of it this year was really how do we deal with that stuff going forward. And this movie, better than any other movie that I saw last year, better than any other movie that I've probably ever seen, really tackles that in a really brilliant way.
It sure does. Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to this film, and I know I say that a lot, but I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, it's familial, crap that you deal with. It's guilt. It's generational, cultural issues. It's issues with your spouse. It's issues with your self-confidence. It's issues with your own decision making. It's not just guilt over decisions other people make around you. It's guilt that decisions you've made. It's shame. It's self-love. It's, as you said, mental health, self-care. The whole idea that you have to balance it all, imposter syndrome. There's so much is in this film, and they tackle it so well. I mean, I want to point out this is 139 minutes. 139 minutes. So is it long? It's about 2.5 hours. Is it like 4 hours long? No, but you wouldn't know that because of all the things that it covers, and it covers it so well. You feel like, I don't know, at the end of this, I felt quite cathartic. I felt like I, got my own stuff together in some ways in my head, and I was able to make amends with some of the decisions that I made in my life. And that's crazy. That's crazy that watching a film can help you kind of, deal with your own emotions and get to a better place, thinking about all of the things that are happening in this film, but also happening for you. And that's why it's so great. That's why it won Best Picture, because more than any other film, it did that.
Yeah,
Yes. That's
absolutely,
all I have to say
absolutely.
about that.
Absolutely. So that is everything everywhere all at once. Kind of us talking about it didn't do the movie itself any justice. So make sure if you haven't seen it, go out and watch it and watch it. We did, Michaela. I've seen it 3 times now because I saw it way back in the theater. I watched it at home when it came onto streaming. Just kind of in the Oscar watch, I still penciled in some time to watch this because I really wanted to watch it with my spouse. Because I thought that she would really enjoy it. She did. Spoiler warning. And then you and I just watched it again this week in preparation for the podcast. We got to watch it together. So you saw it before the Oscars, and then we saw it through the lens of what it won, what it didn't win, kind of the cultural reception to everything everywhere all at once. Did your thoughts and opinions change in any way? I know the story's a little bit easier to understand because you kind of have a better grasp on what's going on a second watch for it for sure. But did anything change like within you about the way that you felt about the movie watching it on the second time, or knowing that it won 7 Academy Awards or anything like that?
And I definitely think there were aspects to it because when I saw it the first time, I definitely the mother-daughter relationship really resonated with me. The relationship between Evelyn and Wayman resonated. The idea around your decisions making, and if there is a multiverse, that there's another version of me out there that made different decisions, and how like where you are right now is perfectly wonderfully created and built, and that there's goodness in that I remember feeling, but I got that a lot more. But as far as like categories and things, I mean, this just reiterated. I mean, I put everything down. I put everything everywhere all at once down to win a bunch. I mean, almost everything, right? I wish that they could have given two Oscars out for best supporting actress, because Stephanie Hsu was truly awesome in this, and I can't wait to see more of what she does because she's a force to be reckoned with. But no, I mean, other than aspects within the film, it just reiterated to me how amazing it was that this was put together and how it stood up so beautifully. What about you?
No, not really. I mean, I'd seen it the second time, and I was still, very, very high on it, obviously. And then watching it again, the big thing that stuck out to me was just that it didn't win costume, which is mind blowing to me. But that was a really tough category this year. But like I said, just kind of the scope of what they achieved in this. Another thing I want to bring up, and I think let me double check this right here. The budget on this film was $25 million. That was the best $25 million spent of all time. I don't like the Daniels have to be like the most frugal movie makers in the whole world, because like I said, it was basically like 8 movies rolled into one. So that's amazing. That's incredible.
That is insane. I had no idea it was that small. Their budget was that small. I mean, compared to, another film that was up for Best Picture that had a budget of, I don't know, $2 billion or some craziness. I definitely think that this one's going to stand the test of time a lot more. Sorry, James Cameron. No, sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. So yeah, so that is everything everywhere all at once. Let us know what you thought about the movie. Let us know if it was your pick for Best Picture. Let us know if you saw it in the theater. Let us know if you've rewatched it since, and definitely let us know if you try one of these everything everywhere all at once cocktails, either at Fanny's or the at-home version that we did. We want to know all of that stuff. You can do that. Send us messages on our Instagram and Twitter and Hive. It's at Drink the Movies, and on Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see pictures of ours, episode recaps, all that good stuff, that is on drinkthemovies.com. And, what would really help, in every multiverse would be to go give your favorite podcast some love. Where can they do that, Michaela?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Good Pods, anywhere where I guess Spotify/Anchor podcasts are distributed. We do 2 drops a week typically. One is a deep dive just like this. Another one is our lobby bar. If you're liking what you're hearing, please subscribe, tell your friends, leave us a 5-star review. If you're really loving what you're hearing and you want more of it, you can join our Patreon. It's Patreons. I'm going to let you tell them what that is.
Patreon.com/Drink the Movies.
There you go. And we do a lot of good extra fun stuff there. And it's not expensive. It's not too expensive. I think if you liken all this stuff, if you want to help build the community, we're really excited. It's amazing doing this. It's I can't believe this is the third Best Picture kind of post show that we've done. So that's exciting.
Well, technically, we only did two because we did Star Wars because the Oscars were so late.
Oh, that's right.
In 2021. So
yeah, well,
yeah. So this was a good one. So loved going back, revisiting everything everywhere all at once. Like we said, do all those social media things for us. That would be great. And next week, in honor of John Wick 4 coming out, I've never seen John Wick, Michaela, so we're going to go back to the basics. We're going to go to John Wick 1. It was just John Wick back then. I don't think they thought that they were going to make 4 of them. So we're going to go and talk about that. That'll get me deep into the universe of John Wick, get ready for John Wick 4, and maybe it'll be a nice refresher for everyone. Hopefully we can find it somewhere, and we'll talk to everyone next time on
Drink the movies.
Just be kind, especially when you don't know what's going on.
In another life, I would have really liked doing laundry and taxes with you.